All right. We're gonna kick off the September Restoration Commission meeting. And we'll start with our new commission member.
Hi, I'm Giselle.
Oh, yeah, you're on, yeah, you're on. I'm also a member.
Member.
Larry Dunn, chair.
That number.
Ray Rampedy, vice chair.
And
Michelle Fitzpatrick, secretary.
Zoom. So before we get off of
And Dave Prescott.
oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
I see what's going on.
yeah,
You're already on vacation.
yeah, he's got his vacation shirt on. So welcome, and one of the homework assignments that they gave me was to kind of look at the various topics each one of us pick, where the organization can kind of align with. So I won't put you on the spot, but most of us are double booked on a lot of these things and don't feel bad. Tom's already volunteered. I'll give up. You know, a couple of things. So are you ready to declare, or do you get that offline?
There's two that I'm interested in at the moment. I would like to do a little bit more. Dive deep. Probably let you know how that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, probably obvious, but she helped you know DJ. For a more youthful group.
Speak for yourself.
So not smart. First item, next item, oh, let's see. Yeah, no, it's.
No attendees, no. No attendees.
So the first item of business, is the approval of minutes is in the agenda.
But we're for the business at that.
Second. All in favor?
Alright.
All right. I think we have an agreement to look forward to the agenda.
Are we on the minutes still?
Yeah, we're in the minutes right now.
I have a question, on page, I lost it because I'm on I think it's page 3. There's at the top, there's a vote, but it never says what the vote was for, what the motion is we were voting on.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, it's actually on the page.
Unless I missed it.
There you go. You're right.
I was wondering too.
It's under, oh, there's a vote under open space planning.
Oh, page 5.
You're right, that came off of there.
Well, yeah, it's three of the minutes, 5 of the package.
So,
That might have, I thought there was a
I'll tell you in a second.
vote to write a letter. That because you do have a letter.
No, there's a. The past minutes.
There.
Here it is. No, this was a vote to send comments on the forest management plan. The comments that we talked about last time.
First
Yeah.
paragraph, right? Yep.
That's what that vote is. I'll make sure that gets added. I don't know if it got cut off. It's really weird.
Oh, what happens when you plug something in, it'll kind of automatically shift below the text.
Yeah, I think
Word is, I'm sorry, I'm in. But,
yeah, we'll fix that. Thank you, Michelle.
thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
So, yeah, so a lot of those things that. But with that change. Minutes. There are no public communications. Board chair, okay, I got a bunch of stuff. And a lot of these are follow-ups from the minutes we just approved. So I did reach out to the town manager on a concern about our legal protections as a result of of discrimination prevention training. And he said is that regardless, all members of the town's commissions are legally protected by the capacity by volunteer employees. This has always been the case, even for someone volunteer. So we do have that one question brought up, and we do have legal protection.
I thought you asked about supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it doesn't matter whether you're supervisor or member of the committee. He didn't distinguish. That's not.
I thought at the last meeting you brought up, the issue. You were concerned about as being are you the supervisor for us?
And what he's saying is that my position is as legal. Or at least they'll pay for it.
As the supervisor of
Yeah.
us or as a member?
Either one.
Regardless of the commission.
Yeah. Well, since I brought it up, I'm okay with it.
Supervisor, that's.
Well, in their
I just
capacity,
think we know that
whether,
discussion.
but for volunteers, I mean, regardless of what titles. The other thing is that we did have a delay of almost 3 months in keeping web. Especially updated. So it is now updated. I did have several exchanges. And vetted, so everything's up there. We're gonna get a little later, Michelle, about the document, but it should be not. But as far as I know, everything that we as a, we wanted on the website is on the
Is live?
fly.
You get in touch with Liz. Indirectly.
Indirectly. I did send it to her. She bounced it down. He came back and said,
Okay.
she said, could you please contact him directly? Well, that's, but it got done. That's
all that matters.
It got done. Right, I did, attend the August 13th council meeting where they approved 143,000 for approvals to come, including the cop trails. There's also an update from the staff in open space, which led to a request for the Conservation Commission to provide an update. I'll get to that later in the meeting. And they're also going to move forward on the climate resource plan. It also had fun. I attended the August 28th Mystic River Watershed Alliance, and it was the president of the Yale Divinity School Living Community Project, which is, I guess, in the final stages of building a kind of a dorm facility and surrounding garden space for about modest prices. Most of which was from donations. It's nice to have, yes, but actually, it was actually pretty impressive. I mean, if anyone is interested, I thought it was like too much to put in the agenda. So if anyone's interested, you could let me know and I could forward you the presentation. It did, but they got into really nitty-gritty detail, like, X feet of foam underneath concrete base. And then they did stuff about everything was built from green source lumber in forests which were planted. And I mean, a lot of details. I show this all the books. And through every aspect. So they reclaim all the water. So they're basically off the grid, except for potable water. Everything else is independent. Now, I asked, as you might have, what's the per square foot cost?
What?
Per square foot cost. Little puppy, and it turns out it's about times it was something like $1,625 per square foot.
That's not 3 times.
Yeah, 8 more.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's kind of.
Well, careful, I'm sorry, when I said that, it's, if you build to Yale specification,
All right,
800.
okay.
They have already a baseline of how they have. to do it. But to their specifications, I'm going, Jesus, we're like at 200, 300.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Something, I mean, so it's expensive.
The average building cost is like one.
Yeah,
Per square
yeah,
foot.
I mean, it's so, it's like now.
But all the cost is upfront, once it's built, right there's.
Yeah, they
No
did-
further cost.
If they're off the grid.
Their,
Right,
right,
it's
their
like-
declaration was a 20-year IRA. Which isn't bad, but that's why the Yale standards are for a 100-year build. Most municipal structures are built with a 30-year build. So that's part of the difference whether it costs. But
Yale standard.
for you, yeah, right. So, so anyway, no, I guess the point is, there's a lot of work that says you know how to do it. It's just too damn expensive for normal people. But it's yeah, so that's certainly not affordable housing. So it's you know, it's kind of a test case and environment. Says what's the art of it? So net review, that's why.
What's the square footage of that building? Maybe you could do it out.
40,000 square feet. So anyway, so that was kind of. Okay. I was copied, I guess, as a matter of form of a deep certification protection license. And Tom, because he's a culvert. The rehab an existing 60-inch culvert, to install 54-inch culvert liner for marsh. So I was not required to take any action other than say, got it. Nothing for this.
And I did check into that, I mean, it's.
You sent it to us. Well, this thing's been ongoing for a couple
For
of
a
years
while,
now
yeah,
already.
yeah, but it's weird that it didn't even, we got it indirectly. So,
I got
Project.
right, I know you got it before we did,
Yeah, it's like,
so,
I
We're
got
on the
you.
yield commission.
No, it was not. It was, I think they said there's the conservation. No, they sent it to the commission. Not- I received a certificate of completion of discrimination, sexual harassment. Is there a requirement that we all have to complete it by a certain date?
How's tracking?
yeah, so if you're gonna have a certification, I don't know if it costs, but you didn't take it. Did everyone else take it, or we did not take it? Yes. So as soon as you get your certification, I'm assuming they sent it electronically.
I got an electronic
Yeah.
certificate.
If you can forward it to Shannon Noonan. So her email is S Noonan, OOAN at Groton -CT.
Where did that have come from?
It came from Shannon.
Lisa.
Oh, it came from Shannon?
No,
I
well,
believe.
Mike.
It probably came from Lisa, that makes more sense, yeah, we couldn't,
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes.
yeah,
Yeah, the
minutes,
minutes.
yeah, she's the one that sent everything, yeah. So if you send a copy, we'll just keep it on file for you. That's
ABC training. You want to send it to them?
Shannon.
Shannon Noonan.
So that means, yeah, another home.
Sounds
Yeah, so we'll find, just so we, like when stuff like that comes out. In this case, it was sent directly from the town manager's office for this for all commission members, so next time we can look at it. I think they're trying to get this process of sending out a.
So they send it to us, so we have to.
It's different, we keep track of all that, so we keep track of all the training, planning and zoning commission and stuff here, it's really, the town manager's office. So like, it's just, if we have it here, then we know everyone's up to date, so, requirements for planning and zoning. That's new.
And you can't have.
Yeah, they'll probably send it, but I don't think we're the ones that are responsible for making sure that
Let's see. Ann submitted the. What did you submit? Oh, I don't know, I'm lost. For steering committee on the town of Groton Climate.
Well, you did.
And you, yeah,
So,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
so-
I actually asked you first.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I
Uh,
haven't heard anything.
they're just the process.
Okay.
The only other thing is, we got, I guess this should. I got this booklet from the Connecticut Land Trust Census, 23-24. There's a couple of interesting stuff. Let's see, the first land trust in Connecticut was in 1895. And there's 195, 29 land trusts. Is. Land trust is 190,558. That's conservation, ownership, and easements. Now they're claiming that the land trust have an objective of an additional 120,000. Pretty aggressive. So I mean, it's so Connecticut. I mean, we're not. They have miles and miles and miles of stuff. Or Eastern state, you know, I think we're working as a collective body. So I thought that was. And that is my report. Round to Michelle for the fisherman.
All my stuff's on the agenda. I did get my certificate too, and I just forwarded it to Shannon.
I,
And I'm not hearing you. I don't know if it's the microphone or my reception.
I'm planning to attend the SALT conference at the Connecticut College, the one that sponsors all American Lawns.
All our American lawns today.
Today, thank you. Yeah, haven't seen the agenda yet, but I really very valuable.
How much to report? I did get a call from Michelle Maitland. Our pollinator garden that we put in by the hockey rink at the Record Drive is being removed because they're going to put in pickleball courts and regrade the land. So there's been Michelle felt really bad.
It's coming back.
Tabitha is gonna so supposedly overwinter them. I would say it's a lot easier just disperse them, let people plant them and get new
Didn't
plants.
you plant them around a one water drain?
Yes, so that's all being modified. So what's gonna happen is the drain, the access to the pickleball court is getting that.
There, that's not what I heard. It was gonna be relocated to an educational center or something.
No, it's supposed to be relocated there. So unless Michelle got something different that is on the plans, that it's gonna be.
But I mean, those are-
I agree. I said that too. I said, and put them somewhere else, you know. Like,
It's just incidentally, anecdotally, I mean, this whole pollinator is really just ripping everywhere. If you go down, left, scroll, the main road, what's it? No Lake Road, yeah, okay. So, on the left, coming from northwest Mystic in toward Mystic, just on the left side there's a house perched up on a hill. They have planted the entire hillside in pollinating wildflowers apparently, and they have 3 signs up. It's a commercial pollinator garden. If you want a native pollinator garden, it's a commercial business where they're doing this. Just like that, it's great.
Where's this?
It's on No Anchor Road. It's just like 3 houses from the corner after, it's a huge, it's a big hillside. They renovated the house up there, dug it all up, and they pulled it. The crew out there is pumped. So this is great. This totally becomes like a status prestige, like, oh, do you have your garden? Maybe people making money on it. Fabulous.
I have no updates.
Okay.
I will next month.
I've been working with Larry on open space inventory updates. A lot of time on that. Was to response to the council meeting. They had went in, made a presentation on open space. Larry and I were in the building. Afterwards, I would have said at least 4 of the time. They're very interested in targeting what additional open space is available for the voting. It's up in the northeast corner by the sub base.
Exactly. Look, I'll show you.
Yeah, there were more. I'm just saying that this is what I've been involved in. We'll be talking about this.
Which is the next topic, as it is. Open space inventory. Okay, so there's been an update as of August 29th. That you recall we have a working copy database, then gets into the database. So the latest is 8/29. Tom's been updating that. It's been cross-referenced, and as of today, it's in sync. So we now have the GIS database, copy database, and obviously it's the exchange of change. That was kind of wanted to get all that in place before we go back to the town. Now, the letter went out. We were asked at the last meeting for me and Tom to put together a letter to send to the town about status of open space, which we did. But that was like a 1-page letter, and us to have a more substantive one. And that's going to be happening forward.
So in support of that, why he's bringing it up, we're developing. I will personally not be available on the 24th. I'll be out of the country. So Larry will be the presenter. We're developing a presentation. Basically outlines it and focuses on the response of the District 4 question that councilors are interested in, because you remember that they have 13 priority projects that they're working on over the course of this year. So as they have free time, they've been bringing these things up. Open space is one of them. So, let's come Reiner went and talked to them already from the staff perspective. And what Larry will be doing is giving the Conservation Commission. In parallel with this, I've also been still continuing working with the Parks and Rec Commission and trying to get their inventory and the Parks and Rec regulation updated. They were supposed to have a meeting. I met with them back in May and then in June. And they skipped July. And then an August meeting was supposed to be at 7 p.m. at the golf course. They kind of go around and rotate to different places. And it turned out that there was a screw up as far as on the announcements of when the meeting was going to be. So when I showed up there, they'd already meeting. They supposedly voted on it to approve it, but I don't know if that's going to be out or not. website said. Or to follow on that. Hopefully, but it sounds like it's gonna happen. And it's this month, or next
That's right.
month, they have to make a correction or whatever they do. But, which is good news. So now our inventory is in sync with Parks and Rec regulation. Now that regulation still has to go forward to get final town council approval. Because the town council has to approve them. They develop them all, but they need it, just like we did with our plan. For final approvals. That's it. So the other area that we found in development of all this is that was the accessibility. There's a map on the town GIS that we talked about that is accessible and non-accessible open space areas. Yeah, there it is right there. And that was presented, Ryder presented this during his presentation. But you can see, in this case, we've updated this to have all the voting districts are now blocked out there, the thick gray lines of the voting district. District 4 is the northwest corner there. That's District 4. It's the largest. It's got the most electors in it. It also has the most controlled areas, such as 1,000 acre. Let's say over 1,100 acres is taken off the table because it's all federal property. The town can't control it. Okay? You have 900 acres of state property that we can't control. So you start whacking this stuff down, and that's what causes the space to be more reasonable to the other ones. So we do in the presentation here, we go into all the gory details. And so I incorporated all that district information. We had never been looking at it as one of the. We take a look at the names, the addresses, the acreage, whether it's protected or preserved, what type of categorization is it under the POCD. But we never looked at, we worried about fire districts, but we never worried about voting districts. So we added all that information into it. The slides. And when I started calculating everything, I found out that the definitions that we had in our database that was agreed to at a meeting back, a year or so ago when we were doing all of this stuff, was out of sync with what was posted by the final definitions that the staff provided to NOAA. We're out of sync there between NOAA's two databases that he had for the accessible attributes that we had in the inventory versus what's on the GIS. This map comes from the GIS. Accessible because the inventory has the data in it, but you can't pull it up and make a display of it. You only can do the parcels by the POCD definition.
Now, on that point too, because I want to clarify one thing too. So, one of the things that Noah has talked to me a bunch about is places like Apollonia and Gosta. There is not a clear spot that identifies which parcels are open to the public. So if we didn't know for sure, they were not accessible. That it may not be the case. So if anyone on the commission can help with that, saying reaching out, I know some of you are involved with those groups too, obviously. If you can get those data. Now I know some locations are more conservation, but there's a bunch of spots on there that I would hope.
There'll be more in the Avalone, because I know all the Ghost stuff is.
Then that might be fun.
Can I just comment on Avalone? There's a new piece of property that's over on Sandy Hollow, and the town portion of Avalonia, who oversees it, has decided not to trail it. But having said that, I didn't think it was a reason to really have a trail. Short, and where's it going to go? Where's it going to start? And so forth.
And that's actually represented on the map up there. You can actually see that just on the north side.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what it's hashed out red, and that means it's not, so there's no trails, that means it's not public accessible.
Right, that's
There's no trespassing sign, it's just that there's nothing there to go do. And the same for the Joel property, there's a number of properties that are just not trails.
Well, I was just trying to clarify that, because just because it didn't have a trail doesn't mean the public can't go there if they wish.
And that's the hard definition that we don't have. So even though there's no trails, if it is accessible, if the organizations are allowing it to be accessible by the public without trails, then that's the kind of information, we don't have that. There is no, the organization, some of that stuff is behind the scenes. So we don't
Right.
know that. So that's where, we're at. So.
Can I just ask, is it the town council interested in this particular portion? Because of, seems to me like the percentage of excellent is pretty low in that corner, does that? why
Well,
they're
no,
interested, or-
let's not go through the whole presentation here. We're gonna answer that
Oh,
question
oh,
for you.
question, okay.
I don't wanna give the whole presentation, because it's 20 pages, but just as a sense, and I'll stop on the chart, that. So this is what we're gonna do. Because, gee whiz, many definitions of open space, how we approach it. And then this is the one we're just talking about, key stats of voting districts. So all this other stuff,
A basic question.
because they asked for it.
They
That's
asked
why I'm
for it.
asking, why
The
does
town council, they are concerned as far as who's voting for them.
Yeah.
Let's be really honest, okay?
So, if I get into that very question, we just talked about this, things are in sync, all this there, definitions you see before. So this is the part, your question is, you get everything in fact, I don't see voting district on here.
No, we didn't.
Well, actually, I should.
I just, it's recently, I want to add it.
Yeah, sure, put that in. Yeah, it doesn't matter. These are just all, the point is, you got a database, all kinds of classifications in there. You can slice and dice it to wherever you want, which gets to the problem of, what do you want? And so this whole part of the discussion is gonna be, you ask me what open space is, it depends on which parameter you're interested in. The good news is, we have it structured so you can ask any question you want. And later today, I'll say this, later today, that's going to show you the voting district. That was interesting, that was a good catch. Okay.
That's because it wasn't out of what we wrote that for.
Okay, well, then we did put in, okay, so you, protected and preserved, we know about that, we had that discussion.
That's a new slide that Noah just made for us.
A nice slide, I like it, the color's really pop.
Yeah.
Nice to go.
So that's by voting district. Then these were, this is out of the letter that you guys approved this in, this agenda, so that's there. And this is new, that accessible open space by, as best we can tell, is 23.5%. It drops off, but it's still a goodly amount. It says what it is now. The real thing gets into it. Showed you. Now, here's the point. You look at District 4. Tom said the total acres is the largest, 5,000. Protected and preserved is the largest, 1,700. At 32%. But accessible acres is 669. Now, it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of the mid-range stuff. So it's at 13%. It's the second of this city. 21. So it's from a
8% is the city, number
That's,
district.
District 3 is around electric vote.
yeah, 2 and
Oh,
3,
really?
yeah.
District 2 is down by.
The city is 1 and 3 together.
Yeah, the city is districts 2 and 3 together.
Or 2 and 3.
And so you kind of looked at, kind of invented this statistics as accessible areas per resident, which is different than accessible for total. And it says 0.08. All right, yes, it's worse than, not that much worse than District 6. Better than city, duh. But, so yes, this is the question they asked, right? And that's why, kind of provide this. And the question is, what can you do about it?
Because it is still the lowest of the town areas.
Town area.
As a town council, you really don't worry about this, the
city.
city and District Long Point, because they have their own conservation commissions and they can do their own thing. And, we're keeping track of it for them, but but as
vote for
in action,
council members.
we really don't want, we're not in the process, in the business of making recommendations of how to go fix these other conservation areas.
Sounds like an opportunity for us to suggest that for a district board should be made.
Well, we'll get there. So this is the slow successful acres per resident outside the city, so that was, like I said. This just has the stats on it. So the
Well, let's come next page.
so then it says, what can you do? Recommendations, which doesn't cost us money, is we have time-owned property that you can access. You can negotiate open space on state-owned property. Basically, then you can negotiate access to open space that the city owns. And then you can talk about negotiation on private property, which is, basically the 90s stuff. That's the tax.
Well, the special tax thing.
Special tax,
Farm
they put
building.
a farm building. Not quite farm, keep it open.
There's forestry, farmland, and open space.
So the thing is,
That's all private.
then since we're on paper, I'll say this the third way. The opportunity is there for the town council to take action if they want. In District 4, that really don't require funding. There is, buying some of the private property, but really there's other ways of approaching.
A lot of options.
So number 2, with veggie one, right? There's quite a few trails there.
Well, the trails, technically, you actually see no trespassing signs on there. And currently, the state's rules, if you go look it up online, they say the only, they will provide guided, they're just like Groton Utilities. They will provide guided tours run by Denison Pequot Nature Center on designated dates that are free. But that's the only time you're supposed to be going on. Now, I personally have seen a lot of people when that were not part of, even on the day I went on the guided tour, of people already out there, including a state representative, and that kind of stuff. So it's a mixed bag of who's actually doing things out there.
It's unenforceable.
But it's the flip side of it is the state is doing nothing with it.
Right.
Okay, and that we should, if the town has not made a positive action to go ask. So we're kind of on the worst enemy
That
to
would
some
be a
degree.
clear
Yes.
big win.
Which is, if you look at all of the
Yeah.
objectives of this presentation, it's, you have opportunities.
And it's a similar thing could be said for in number 3, with Groton Utilities, that's pretty much what Tri-Town Trails we're trying to do is to get, public access to some of their spaces that are
Been rejected.
been rejected as of August.
But the town hasn't. That was for,
The town has not asked.
that was more of a private group. So anyway, that's kind of the sense of it. I think there's some attachment background for their edification. So, there's,
Good job, guys.
Well, one thing, I would go back to the one that's got the yellow in the backup material, just for everybody, like, they run across this.
For now.
That there was actually a resolution passed by the town council in November of 2004 that basically said, when they defined what open space that they can use the acquisition funding for. Now, that acquisition funding, we were asking in the past budgets to get $25,000 a year in, except for this year, we stopped that. And then also any of the subdivisions that they give money as opposed to land. This actually defines what that can be used for, and they actually defined it. I hadn't really looked at this before, and it's not included in our open space conservation. They dug this up.
what's the current tally of?
It's over 170.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
170,000. We haven't gotten to.
But what was interesting is it actually talked to protected and preserved it. I thought was very useful.
Just a small bit of history. That particular property, Conservation Commission has been positive on trying to get it somehow open to the wall for a very long time, but it was wrapped up in transition in the deeds. That it went from a nonprofit to state. And a very long process. And each time we would say something to the planning department, for instance, that we think this would be a good one to preserve if we can, because it, at the Boy Scout camp,
What's the YMCA?
the YMCA, I'm sorry, right. We should preserve it. And then hopefully we could match with the second half of the program was to get the private property, the other half of the pond. Only the lower half of the pond. And it's just, you got them in the weeds, if you will. And you just walk away and you have it work through. And now it's interesting to see it's,
Well, the reason I'm still pushing this is the deeds have been all updated. And it's gone from just the state of Connecticut, it said there was another deed assignment to DEP for conservation purposes. So it is a conserved, protected land by the deed, okay? But the problem is that DEP hasn't done anything with it, it's just sitting
Right.
there. They haven't designated it like they did with Candlewood Hill as a wildlife management area, they haven't done it as a park like Haley or in Broad Point, it's just sitting, and it hasn't been turned over, at least it's not with DOT, you know, it's I-95 or anything. But it's DEP land that they're not doing anything with, which is kind of unusual.
So, I have sent a draft of this. He said, good job. And, this is Mark Berry, I have it, I asked. Which he did, and Mark accepted, so, because it's not, we're not separate, I mean, there's a park and recs aspect of this. So anywho, that's the next step. What the town council will do with this information, I don't know. I will say that, no, to me, this meets between the letter and this presentation, meets our obligation. Statutory. The 20.
The cow on the 24th and 4th.
Obviously an open meeting. Y'all can,
You can listen, but you can't talk. The cow. No public input.
well, but as a commission.
24th.
the meeting, so I could-
Yeah, you can bring whoever you want, you can bring everybody.
If you guys are there, I'll bring up the tape. That, I'm just saying, yeah, normal private citizen.
Yeah, you have to come talk, you have to recognize. Contributing to the presentation.
Okay. That's that topic. The next topic on the agenda is open space planning.
Which
And
is kind of what we just talked about. There's some overlap.
there's overlap across everything.
I know there is.
So the open space planning category has a memo on August 15th that you guys authorized. Then again. So anyway, we sent that back because that originated with regarding Andre asking the question. So we write a formal response. That's in the agenda, right?
No, it was last time.
In the last time? Yeah. It was August 15th was the date. Never mind, have it here. I'll just flash it up.
I think we included it in last month.
I thought it was August 15th. That's why I looked at the dates. I said,
Well, no, but we discussed the
we
draft.
discussed it.
We discussed the draft.
The draft of it. And then we got it, we just sent it out. So this
That's
is,
I don't see it.
Okay, this is it. That's the
Final version.
which looks familiar. And, yeah, this got iterated several times. Because we wanted to make sure that we weren't advocating, in fact, we're not advocating. But there was some, that maybe we were, maybe we were, or not. And that, so it's back in here. You wanna, yeah, you have a copy of this, should I send it
I
to
don't know
you?
if I have this copy.
Right, so I will send it.
Because as soon as I get anything from you guys, it goes in the preliminary agenda packet. And then depending upon if it's not like, obviously, we can't put the inventory in there, but it goes in that agenda packet is not included, but anything I get.
All right. Okay. Yes, it got, I know it got kind of screwed up. All right, so I will, that got sent out and I will provide that.
And the whole focus on, to take a look at, kind of push the planning department to think a little bit outside the box in regard to getting, some type, in regard to protecting the portion of the parcel along the waterway. Some way. Whether it be, I had given an idea in regard to, already take it online and, so it's for planning purposes and stuff.
No.
Excuse me. Oops. So the conversation's a little choppy. Do I understand that letter is what the mystery voting thing was, that we voted to agree that you would make that letter, right?
No, there was no voting on that. The voting was actually for sending a letter in response to the forest management plan.
Oh, got it. Right. Okay. So we didn't talk about that. We talked about that topic, but we didn't vote on it. We agreed that we wanted to do it. Okay.
Redo the letter.
It was for discussion.
So
Okay.
I took the discussion and your input and we did. Okay. To that point, that the August 6th memo, Mark Berry on the community forest management plan is in the agenda. Okay, so that is in there. And so that, again, that's more than after the fact that it was talked to, agreed to in the record. Next topic was plan of conservation development. I guess I will turn to Dave and say, kickoff with this.
So we just met with them today.
Okay.
And we've been meeting a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. It's not just even just the kickoff, but it's a lot of getting who's being surveyed as part of this, how the whole, there's just a lot going on in terms of gathering background information. That being said, we are gonna have a kickoff event, right? It's not with the commissions. We're looking right now to have a kickoff event sometime at the end of this month or very, very early in October. That is more a community event. We're looking at someplace probably in Chronic Plains, or some park, actually, or some park. But the purpose of that will be to introduce the consultant to the community. And part of it is so that as we start sending out surveys, not just surveying commissions and other groups and stuff like that, but as surveys are sent out to the public, that there are some faces behind the process, so it doesn't just look like a cold call that we're asking them for input on a POCD, which is another acronym, which no one likes acronyms. So as I will say, every single meeting until this is finalized, this is called Groton 2035. Right? We're not going to call it the POCD, that's behind the scenes, but this is Groton 2035. We're working on logos, we're working on basically survey questions for different staff, different commissions, everything like that. So the kickoff event will be the first event at that time, followed up by a most likely Zoom. They're probably going to Zoom into a commission. I don't know if it'll be in October, I don't know if it'll be in November, to get our feedback, or to get your feedback on thoughts on Groton 2035.
Okay.
Okay.
Couple of questions.
Groton 25.
2035. It'll be completed in 2026, but it's 2035. It's the thought, you know, like, what do you want to see the next 10 years look like? That's basically.
So, yeah, the survey is gonna be through Greater Groton, or there's gonna be some unique survey method?
So for the community, there will be a survey. We're gonna be using Greater Groton as the platform for everything. And the consultant's gonna be using that. They're gonna be providing the background, everything like that, videos, contents, surveys, all that kind of, depending on the different topics that come up, they'll all be focused on that. There are interview questions specifically for each of the commissioners or each of the commissions, and as well as staff that deal with certain things all the way from, and it's across the board for staff. We'll also be looking to, I mean, obviously this 2035 will be focused on the town. We will not be focused on the city. There will be some obviously reference to the city because we are one whole, but not, you know, anyway, so you know how the whole thing goes. So, so we'll be doing that. There'll be some outreach going as well. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that's happening right now. So it's not that we're not pushing off any of that. We're just making sure that we have everything ready to make the best launch possible. And as I've stated several times, I'm sure you've heard it until I'm blowing the base, is like, we really need this. We need a community response for this. We need to reach out to communities that have not had voices in the past and that really have, everyone has a vested interest in this, but we're going to be focusing on, you know, outreach events that are in different parts of town, hence the reason why we're looking to do the first event because historically that area has not had, or I should say has had very, very little response for stuff like this. And there are needs in every different part of the community that we want to make sure that is part of Groton.
Yeah, that's lots of other questions. Are you planning on doing that by voting district or by?
That is, in terms of the survey,
Well, survey and or the
Events.
Where the meetings are.
they're going to be all over the place, similar to what we've been doing for community conversations. Community conversations is an outreach speaker series, let's call it that. We've run 4 so far. There'll be a new one coming up in early October as well. That one's going to be on affordable housing and exactly what does that mean, because everyone has a different interpretation of what affordable housing is and whatnot. So that'll be an event. I think that event's going to be at the middle school. We're looking for a bigger event. That's a big topic. But again, so what we've been doing is going to, historically, the annex is where everyone gathers. Council meetings, commission meetings, and whatnot. Not really the best place to get a good representation from it. So we have completely moved outside that. And we've been at local churches, we've been at one of the schools. So we're really spreading ourselves out around the entire community. And it's shown because a lot of, I know many of you, or most of you, at least one of them, we've been asking exactly where people are coming from, and we're now getting much better representation. What we're really, and that was kind of that initial effort to do that was to kind of build upon some of the topics and discussions that have been happening at town council level, within the community forum, online, if you follow that. I'll call it craziness, but craziness. So we're trying to address all these different topics. But the same thing's going to happen for our outreach events and discussions for Groton. We're providing food, you know, all that.
Is there, or when will there be a project?
So as you saw with the RFP, it's very similar to that. It hasn't changed all that much. Right now, the consultant is in the process of, again, getting all the background information and putting that together so they have something to start with. And then really the next step is reaching out to the community commission, everyone else.
there. I'm assuming that prior to the first event, that schedule will be there.
I mean, it's very similar to what's in there. It hasn't changed all that much.
That's what I was running
Yeah.
through my head, because,
Oh, yeah, this,
you know,
yeah, right, exactly.
times, it used to be, we have all the time in the world, all of a sudden,
Well,
it's the end of 24.
I gotta tell you, it's interesting, so a lot of other Connecticut communities. And we've been looking at their RFPs and stuff as ours went. And you wanna talk about no time? Some of the other communities, you wanna talk about like, oh, we have 9 months to do this, 2 months, right? Like, you know, or a year, like it's just, in order to really do the job that we need to do to have a document that can be utilized for making decisions for the future. Here's what we do that. So that's where we're at right now, and all that stuff, so as part of, that early event like, not early event, the event in late September, early October, most likely we're looking at that crossover week, where I think it's 30th to the 4th or something. That's the week that we're looking for the first kickoff event.
Homework assignment is that prior to the second meeting, earlier this year, we all identified, or collectively identified our priorities for what we call 2026 PLCD, which we relabeled. Groton was
35.
2035.
So it's more of an update, kind of look at that earlier list of priorities and go, yeah, we're still okay with that. I think we have 8. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying, is, you know, take another gander at it. We'll see if you still the board. So,
And
and
it's okay if you call it
I wrote PLCE down.
PLC.
I did too,
I did
both
too.
of
Out of that, it's short,
Correct.
first of all, it's short. And this is,
them. I'll just call it G35.
G35, that's not bad. It's an aircraft.
More concise.
Both, yeah, that was both. Hey, this is September, so we haven't. So, yeah, so I guess for the October meeting, put that as an agenda item, because that covers us all the way in November. The cars, airplane, airplane would be more. We'll go with the car. Cause that is a high-end model.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so. Moving on.
yeah, like I said, stay tuned also for that date should be. We're hoping that we're gonna wrap up that date within the next. Hopefully by the end of this week. And we'll start advertising. We're gonna have a food truck. We're gonna do. This is gonna be.
Next item was budget support, which. And we've done it, we've been through the budget, so the next budget cycle is not gonna kick off until February, March. So we're probably, that's gonna be low activity item. Vacant land review. I have heard nothing.
It's on the agenda for tomorrow night's council. They're gonna be reviewing the RFPs for both the schools and. That's fine.
Pleasant Valley and Groton Heights.
So it's a Kyle, you can't say anything, so that one I'll look at.
But you can already review the RFPs that are online already.
Those have really been updated.
Significantly different.
Gonna be uniform, you know, so that was the whole purpose. they're like, well, this one, they don't look anything the same. How do you care? So they work really hard. That's the real.
There is a lot of community angst on.
That's not even on the agenda yet.
So that'll be,
Nothing has been decided. There's nothing. There's nothing. Yeah.
I didn't say anything was decided.
No, I'm just saying in general, nothing has.
There's a lot of,
It's not even under consideration yet.
yeah, but
Anything.
a lot of people have already started to
Oh, they're all
mobilize.
organized. The neighborhood is totally organized.
Well, the problem is that in the absence of something happening, these folks are getting together in preparation.
But also, I think there's been enough where things have all of a sudden been, there's a full-blown horrible plan that's already plunked down and approved by the town, and they've watched it happen over and over and over again. So like, oh, no, this is not.
Tell Larry, because Larry's on the TOP committee, and there's been a whole process, so none of that's happening with, so and that's part of the issue too, is there's a lot of misinformation out there about, and we have people coming in like, we want to see the plans for Butler.
Right.
There are no plans. No, we heard there are plans for Butler. No, there's no. It's just the only thing at this point is tomorrow night, new RFPs for Pleasant Valley School and.
Was there something in the paper a while back about somebody who was interested in
Yes.
the property?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with the town. That was someone
It was a private
outside, yeah, it's a
individual.
private individual that
But
came forward.
unfortunately, that was information, that's all the information, say, that's been thrown out there.
And that's media.
Exactly.
So
He
that's-
he leafleted the neighborhood.
Yep,
Town house, left things in mailboxes, he had a whole vision, it was a mid-century modern B&B, and he was gonna live there and have rented out as.
And that was completely on them, had nothing to do, I mean, like I said, if you follow the community forum, look at that too. You know the new oil change place that's going in next to Popeyes?
Yes.
Let me tell you, in the last month, there have probably been 20 posts. What's going next to Popeyes? Yeah, next to the Wendy's, there's something going in.
They're building.
Across the street from TJ Maxx. What's going? And and then they're like, oh, I heard this. It's like, there are people, like even someone said something the other night about Wooden Tap, the one that's going in the 99, about what they thought happened. There's so much false information out there, and we have to. A lot of times they come to the counter saying that we don't. There's been no plans, so nothing's. So I think that's a big issue. That's a really big issue of all of this.
Which is kind of why I mentioned it.
Yeah, no, I know you did. You just stirred the pot, right?
But it's
Get
good for
ahead of
us to
it,
know
and
that,
not
so that we
contribute
can.
Right.
to misinformation, but to reduce.
Yeah.
No, it's good. So that's a challenge that we do all the time. Like it's just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is.
and then all of a sudden it's like, we want to see the plan. No, you have.
And I do remember on one of the book meetings, that we had, it was like 60 people.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there is interest.
Yep.
And they were heard. But anyway, all right, so
We're trying to
that's
fix the
moving on.
process.
It's a long,
It is a long run. I mean, and there's two sides of it. There's a lot of public notification and hearings, but that's also so the question that Larry, that's part of the issue. That's where we haven't gotten anything. Because it's well, first of all, we still have 5 more to do. So that it's challenging right now. So that's why they're really trying to get these ones out so they're ready for publication. And we go from there.
it's a tough environment to work in.
It is.
But it's slowly moving forward. It's moving faster this time. Anyway, so much for that. Thank you for that update. Michelle, Connecticut College Project.
Okay, so before you put the presentation up, let me point out, this version of the presentation is for our consumption. It's for us to jog our minds, to help answer the 2 questions that I asked you to think about that are at the end of the presentation. Again, one is, what projects do we think we might want to offer the students next year? We are going to do this again. And the second question is, what lessons did we learn that we'd like to take forward with us. So again, we don't need to go through this. So I guess my point is, if we were to say wanted to present this to the town council, I would clean up it even more. Like right now, it's got all the different templates for the different projects. And I didn't try to synchronize that. I got rid of some of the extra stuff, but not all of it. So if we decided we wanted to present this to somebody else, we'd have to adjust it based on the audience. So the audience for this one is us. So Larry, if you just want to, I know Giselle hasn't seen this before, so do you want me to really quickly for her purposes, what this is about?
And I guess that was gonna be my question is, now that we have this material, there is the one pager that is out on the website.
Right, so let me just back up really quickly, very, very brief. 2 years ago, we started working with the Guggenheim Center for the Environment at Conn College. They have, at Conn College, the students have to have a major and usually a minor, but also they have to belong to a center of some kind. So this one is specifically for students interested in environmental projects, no matter what their major is. And I worked with them and with their program lead, which is how this all happened. So we basically, there's 12 students each year. In the spring of their sophomore year, which is when they enter the center, they have a class that's called the service learning something, but basically it's to learn about how to run a project. And so this is the second year that we provided them with projects for them to run. So in January, we will present them with a list of, say, 6 to 8 projects. And then they will pick, like this year, they picked 5. And so these are the 5 that they worked on this year or last spring. And so at the end of the semester, they have to do a report to us. Now we have the Groton Earth Day Fair, and this year they accepted the challenge to all do a presentation at the fair. So basically it's to help give them projects that help us solve our problems or help us in some way. And then they pick what they want to work on. So this is the presentation sort of boiled down of what those 5 projects were. And this is the list of the projects.
So
I guess now we have to change Groton POCD to Groton 35, but anyway.
There we go,
So-
you get.
For the matter of historical record, there's a lot of-
For future, well, not in here, but in the future, like one of the projects for next year would be to do work on that. We could change it there. Anyway, Larry, you can just go ahead and scroll through it.
Michelle, it should say the 2026 Groton POC. Wait,
no, it was
the
recommendation.
recommendation from the old one?
The old ones, recommendations to
Okay.
Yeah, the recommendations are from the 2016, right? I guess,
Why not?
2020, I don't know. Maybe it was my typo. Maybe we called it that. I don't remember. But I can fix it to 2026.
Well, no, because
Okay.
we don't know 326 section of the GDP, so that is the old section. So, but my thing is that for example, the new list that I just gave earlier, food security was not one of our priorities, wasn't even on our list.
No, it evolved.
So that's one of the best.
So
Which is why I'm asking for look at. That's an example of, think about that.
oh, you mean, should we?
Should we?
Yeah.
Yeah, should we, extract actually from what they've done and say, hey, you know something?
Right.
We're gonna put that as a priority, and rank it in. So that's the part of the discussion.
So I would suggest just scroll very quickly through this and get to the end where you guys help answer the questions.
Questions? Yeah, no, it's in the,
At the very end. So all of this is just the boil down of those 5 projects, right? And you can all look at it at your leisure there. Okay, so page 47, you guys go up a tiny bit. Okay, so based on last year's results, my recommendation to, again, the first 3 thoughts were to, again, offer them the 2025 Groton Earth Day Fair, to assist the Parks and Rec with implementing the stewardship plan, which we'll talk about in the next section on the agenda. And then to again pick a topic from, and I guess we can talk about where they're going to pick the topic from, whether it's, go back to the 2016 POCD again, or look at the list that we started making for the Groton 35. That's, we can talk about how we want to present this to them. So those are my 3 ideas based on, pretty much follow on from this year's projects. So my question then is does anybody else at this point have ideas? And if not at this point, we need to think about this, because I think we just said we wanted to have the topic started in place by November, I think.
I would support that on the November agenda. Come in with any ideas, because then it's gonna be over January, so.
But can I just interject now, like, I think that any of the projects that students did this last year that were like really good projects, that the new students could build on what those students did last year. So I would say almost anything that was done this year would be basis to just keep moving that ball forward, whichever one it was. Like, in other words, continue the 2020, 2023, 2024. Continue on the 2024 momentum that those students created.
Maybe for some of them, but not for all. Like, I don't think at this point doing any more work on the solar panels is going to be useful. At least not to what the students could easily do, right? The tree canopy, I think we need to revisit and look at that. I don't think we want to blanket it that way, Kristen. I think, the ones that you're familiar with, can you identify specifically what that next step might be that they would want to do? And that's what I do with the stewardship idea. The next step in stewardship would be, now that we have the Parks and Rec involved, to work with them, right? So for the other projects, what would be a next step that would make sense? Because obviously this year they took the low-hanging fruit for each of those topics, right? So we don't want to make it difficult for the students to do something, but if you have a good idea, then sure. So that's, I just don't want to, saying a blanket that way, I don't think is going to give us what we need.
Bring your ideas to the November.
Right,
You
bring
have-
specific ideas.
Specific ideas
The November meeting.
for November.
The November meeting, yep.
I also have a question recommendation that if you look at to get everybody busy, is I looked at this and I said, I think we talked about this, is that my recommendation would be send the entire deck to the staff. Because there's a lot of stuff in there that addresses food security, et cetera. Send the 4th bullet, the carve out, to Parks and Rec. And then the last bullet is the carve out city. I have that's it. Recommendations to do something. So I'll accept it, not to put this in the website, but perhaps to share it with those. Any thoughts on that, Michelle?
Yeah, I would suggest if you share the full presentation, not this abridged version.
Okay.
But I agree with that, and I agree with you sending it to those people, yes.
I'm jumping ahead a little onto the outreach portion of the agenda. Wouldn't it not make sense to kind of loop the town council in on this great work that these kids did under our tutelage? Like, just to, this is what we're doing as a commission, town council, these are good ideas, these kids are.
Do we have a scheduled presentation to the town council that's like, do we do an update to them on here's what we did last year? Do we do anything like that with the town council?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's kind of focused on the open space presentation as That's statutory now, I think. This one is it's community involvement, regardless of the colleges. Be that as it may, if we could tie it to something, is there some other organization within we're talking high schools, right? But I'm just thinking through, or are there some conclusions from the students that would say, hey, we just like to share with you. This is the youth vote, if you will. Represented not, more as a generic statement from the youth thing, not necessarily extolling the college. One, I don't know. Thoughts around the table?
One of the things that you have to kind of put in perspective here is that the town council's got a lot on their plate. That's when they focused down the 13 areas that they're interested in. One that affected us, open space. We're answering their question on the open space. So as far as taking this to the town council, it sounds nice, but their agenda's full, relatively speaking. Okay, we don't need to go, find things we're doing here. I think what Larry's suggesting here is focusing on if we've got this as a project we're cooperative with college, and I think that's a great thing to be doing. And if we do get nuggets coming out of this project process, we should be sharing it. I guess I agree with Larry totally, but I don't think we need to be going out. We got it on our website. It's advertised there. If people have interest in it, we can. As we talk to various town councilors, they can mention that it's out there. We can work. I know I have personally in the past, when I have those opportunities, and it's relevant. But I don't see us going for a full presentation. Such we need to keep our 924 presentation very focused. Already have.
Oh, no, I wouldn't suggest moving that. I mean,
And I don't see us really having another opportunity going once they get past November. They have a very locked in schedule with the budget process. Also, all the issues that are going on in the school board. We're going to take up a lot.
So how about we do put this version on our website, but take off the last two slides. We didn't talk about the last slide yet, but we can. So the last two slides are more about our questions. So the rest of it's basically presenting, here's what the students did. So I would say we could put this version, and I specifically took off all the names of the students. So we could put this version minus these last two slides. We could put this version on our website.
Something like this nice work. It seems all to be.
I'm sorry, Kristen, I didn't make it everything you said.
Share this with Andre Baumgartner or maybe state representatives, because they do like to, I mean, there's people that like to know, like, what is the pulse, what's going on, what's happening, what are especially the young people doing. Maybe just, he's so busy too, but
we could point them to it. Anybody that might be interested.
Newspaper article, I don't know.
Okay, no, I mean, I can add that to the list. State representatives and
Press.
Plus the three of them, Conley, Nolan,
They're very, Andre's the chairman of the committee, so he's very interested.
No, I have no problem. I think it's a great idea.
that's fine. I have no problem with that.
I agree, though, that it seems like we should.
All right, so let's circle back to the going forwards, and just one more thing in this presentation itself, and that is particularly with those of you that work directly with the students. But I know for me, the one lesson for me was to actually we got them all to do presentation at the fair, but I want, and Jen agree with this, to next year have that be one of the requirements of the project is to present, so they know right up front that they're going to do a presentation at the Groton Earth Day Fair, And one of the things that does is it gives them a timeline to finish before the fair. So, anyways, but, and does anybody else, again, especially, even if you didn't work with students, but are there any other things that you know, the bigger picture, overall things you got out of it that might be useful to add to this list? Well, we can think about that too, and if there's anything, because basically it'd be stuff that I want to take to Jen once we have the topics. If there's anything else we want from an administrative or overall view, we can take that to her. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. We can go back to the discussions of what you guys want to do with this.
What I heard recommendations were take the detailed. Well, I think I would. This is like an overview, but then I can also take the detailed report and carve it out to development planning function.
Yep.
Our state reps. Next, I can certainly do that. Take off the names, take off the last.
Right, and those are all in the that Dropbox folder. If you need me to do it, if you need me to make any change to them, let me know.
Right. Well, I think the names of the students are in.
So you want to get a version of the final report that doesn't have the students in it?
Oh, yeah,
Is
that's
that
what
what you're
you suggest.
asking?
Yeah, without their names. And just
Okay.
editing the.
All right, I'll create a version of all 5 final reports that don't list student names. And I'll think of something to call it in the Dropbox.
Second thing you gave was to put this presentation without the student names and last pages out on the conservation website.
Right, so I'll take these last 2 slides off and we can post this on our website, and I'll call it presentation summaries for a website.
I just have like a quick question, like, kind of like a little bit aside, but like, why on college?
Because I was,
We're trying to figure that out.
I'll answer that. So when I was president of Avalonia, they were using Avalonia for their projects. And that's how I got to meet Jen and learn about the projects. And then I taught there for like 7 years. And when Avalonia was no longer able to support it, I suggested that, hey, well, you're looking for projects, we could use some help. And that's how it started.
Right, and subsequently, the NER has come on board, and so now we do projects with the NER, like take your cleanup is done through the NER at Avery Point, UConn.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about.
So that's how that is.
We've done projects with UConn.
With the UConn student projects, we ran that 2 years ago.
And 2 years ago, the first year was free, the second year they hit me up for $2,000.
Really? Well,
And,
it's your
and I decided that I didn't get our money, so I didn't want to pay. So this is just our time, but they're not asking for.
And NER doesn't ask, it covers the costs.
So, but if there's another organization, there's another group, the entity,
Just
something that by all means bring it up. I mean,
Okay.
there's like 10 or 12 organizations that are on there that we work with. They have their own agenda and their own things. Their own. You gotta find someone that. But this is kind of like extra for them. They want to do. Not something they're already. Those are environmental organizations. They already have their focus. So we work with them, but they're not going to do extra work for us.
Yes.
They want us to do that. Yeah, which is fair because that's part of our goal. Okay.
Plus, this is part of our outreach. So, you know, in addition to giving them stuff to do, we're sort of sharing our vision and the way our commission works with these young people.
We're going after the youth.
Yes.
bring up right now. An idea. Also,
Oh, Grasso Tex.
they have like a,
That's Jimmy Moran. We worked with, get the name of her. What's the fee? What was it? Cost there, and then, the head of the environmental club. Which was looked at, but she kind of stated.
It kind of faded with, so yes, the Fitch
They
and
call
Grasso
them, they
are
should
two
know.
obvious
Yeah.
candidates. It'd be fun.
I'm just throwing out ideas and thinking.
Yeah, we love all of it.
Okay, so you volunteered.
Well, see, yeah, that's just it. You have to have somebody on our side that wants to commit the time to that school. And you have to somebody in this school that wants to commit the time to us. So if you could find those two things, then you got a project.
Okay, good to know.
Fine.
And if you do that, you take this on as well, you should reach out to Megan Granado, who's the director of Sustainability and Resilience Manager. She is working on a project with those schools.
She's
part of Groton, so she already has those contacts there that we already have as.
And one of the things, with that, they're already aligned with Groton.
Okay, well,
Hey. Thank you, Michelle.
Welcome.
Open space, oh, don't leave. Open space stewardship, your updated draft in the agenda.
Yep, the draft is there. And this is the draft that I sent to Mark Berry and to Tabitha. I don't remember her last name. And I specifically in the email said I highlighted in green the stuff that was important to them. And one of the things that you know that Tom and Larry and I discussed when we met with them, I don't know, 2 months ago, was that they, you know, we were going to test out the idea of them providing the stewardship coordinator. And so this kind of, I pointed out to them where in the plan, the stewardship coordinator would be involved. And I specifically pointed out in the email, and I think I have it even in the plan, is that the idea is for each parcel to have an overall manager for the parcel, a lead steward for the parcel. That lead steward should be the one that pretty much, that the steward, people that are working on the property, they work with the lead steward, and the lead steward, only when that person can't answer a question, that's when they take it up to the stewardship coordinator at the town level. So the idea would be to have somebody there that's a town authority, but to not have them be spending a huge amount of time on it. And we decided at that meeting where we might try to beta test it with a property or two, but I haven't heard back from either of them. So we haven't had another meeting to discuss their feedback because I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything, Larry or Tom?
Well, I still remember them saying that they're not going to get back to us until after September. Just
Okay.
because of this, so busy with the summer.
But it is September.
It is.
So my suggestion for this one is to reach out and say, when can we have our meeting? Because it's September. Right? I mean, it's September, October. Oh, and again.
So Larry, do you want to do that as chair? Do you want me to do it? Who do you want to put the POC to do the reach?
Well, you're, as the author of this document. that was
Okay,
the main-
so I should ping them.
Say, let's schedule one
Okay,
September. Right? And again, FYI, we have special subcommittees because we have more than 4 people together. It's an official town meeting. We have to go Zoom, we have to have patients, we have to have that.
okay. So I will send an email copying the 2 of you saying, you know, please let us know when you were able to meet with us to talk about the stewardship manual.
Right, and a follow-up from our last meeting. basically.
Yes, right. Okay, I
So-
can do that. So that's the story on the stewardship.
Very good. Any questions on the changes or the highlights in the package?
Everything's still fine.
I'm sorry, Tom, I didn't hear everything you said.
No, the document as you presented it to her is still close enough, and nothing is substantially changed. So I
Right.
remember helping write this, you know, and it's pretty much still the same document it was 2 years ago when we drafted.
Exactly. It's just the wording is changed to include that stewardship coordinator. And then they have to tell us if they agree with all the stuff that's their responsibility.
Very good. All right. Is there, the next, or the last topic was outreach, which I think we probably covered. Think we have anything new or unique that? Very good. New business. Does anyone want to bring up a new business? Well, fine.
Just for edification perspective, is that I'm doing, Groton has their property at Walls on Prospect Drive. And they made a comment to me, as far as the town property across the street, all the trees are dying. Okay, so I did go and investigate that. Because it's affecting, there's an unnamed stream that starts on the Ledges property, goes alongside the Gosa property, goes under the under Prospect Drive, a big 30-inch culvert, and then dumps out into the under town property, 5-acre parcel there that then coordinates back there, condenses down back into a drain that goes at the post office parking lot. It goes under the parking lot all the way over to Big Y, then back into the stream there, and it goes like all the way down. So I don't know, and so I did an investigation as best I could without hopping over fences and getting too wet. But there's a significant backup of water on the town property. Because somebody said, well, maybe the people on the Ledges are dumping stuff in there as a poison or whatever. But it looks like there's just an accumulation of water level because the water is almost maxed out in that culvert. There's no flow in it. But if you go to the post office, there you can look into the sewer drain there. You do see water moving, but obviously it's not. There's some kind of blockage somewhere. So I did report that to Michelle Maitland and the Public Works process stewardship at here. So, I think it's just really a swamp effect where the trees have all shed their leaves because they're so inundated with water.
Yeah, they'll die if it's water.
They drown.
This is probably due to more, so much more rainfall, we have that old systems on the
Yeah.
side.
Well, I don't know. The something is not draining out of that.
So,
So
from a process point of view, you made a formal complaint.
because this is an MS4 issue,
Right.
where the drainage, it's so thick, the vegetation on the north side of the parking lot, and which is the south end of the town parcel there. I couldn't even get through it. Okay,
So,
do more
Did
investigation.
you get a response from?
Michelle acknowledged that she had received the issue, but that's all I've heard.
When was that?
But within the last week and a half.
Oh, okay, we get it. I guess my suggestion is, Dave,
Listen,
I assume there's some progression of escalation we could do. So you reached out to Michelle. We can go to I guess next we could put together a formal complaint, suggestion, whatever the right term is here, for Parks and Rec. Then if we don't hear back from that, then I go to the town manager and say, and raise an issue. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of an escalation.
I don't know what person.
I'm sorry, I meant.
Public Works.
all the words, yeah.
But I put this in, is it MS4 because that is MS4
Now,
dumps.
here,
in there.
you're starting off at what I have called, let me tell you, I saw something.
Yeah.
Which is not a formal complaint.
Well, they have an online form that I did fill out.
Okay.
Okay, so because they do receive those kind of complaints. Public Works is very good about that. They do. I did fill the online form out, as well as forwarding an email of that.
Right, so maybe the thing is, if you don't hear something back in 2 weeks, then Dave, what would staff's recommendation be on escalation path?
I would follow up with Michelle. She respond to you?
She said she got the thing. I mean,
Right, that's just, thanks, I got you.
So, I personally, I would handle it, I would, Michelle, and escalate up the chain, says, have you forwarded this to Greg Hanover? What's your next step on this? Or is there one?
well, let me put things in perspective here. On the Gosa property, they have I forget the name of the street that's above them.
That's above Wells Wall?
Above Walls. There's a subdivision up there. And the drainage of all that goes onto the Gosa property. It's an open culvert. It drains into that culvert system that I've just described here. Gosa received notification 2 weeks, about the same time I was doing this, that they're gonna enclose that culvert. There's actually 4 big backhoes and graders up at the top of the hill there on the Gosa property have already started. They're gonna bury a 16-inch pipe all the way down through across the Gosa property and dump into have an open area that will then dump into the
your
culvert. Well, they're gonna establish a new 35 or 13 foot by 13 foot retention basin, but that'll have to overflow into there. Okay, it's not gonna just be a direct dump. That's the Gosa comment that they asked me as my professional engineer inputs was that they should be doing more for that overflow. That it's assuming everything.
Yeah, look here, you gotta look.
Yeah, what's farther downstream is where this stuff's going to continue going downhill because it already exists. That pipe is going to end here. You're going to make this big little drainage thing, and it's not going to slap. The amount of overflow that we had this past January is going to. You need to please direct. It was still on Gosa property into this.
So all that stuff was very.
But now, the Public Works has a team working this area already.
The top.
On the top part, so just for full disclosure here.
All right. What's the, if I may ask, why bury it?
All I know, that was a design that was developed by Public Works. They gave it to Gosa for comment. I received it as one of the, as in my professional engineer hat, hired. Please comment on this.
Did you submit a formal Gosa letter to?
I don't know what, it was sent to the president of Gosa. I provided my comments to him and I don't know, I think it was all done by emails.
I would follow up with that too. I would also want to know, like, because if it came from Public Works to Gosa, and you're providing feedback for that, I would be like, okay, let's get forwarded on. And what was the response?
What they do is they ask for comments.
Yeah.
More for information.
Well, let's do this. It is at our October meeting. If you go back and ask what's going on, and nothing happens, then I would suggest that the Conservation Commission to take a formal position to do something, right? Go back to Public Works first before the escalate. That's kind of.
Yeah, I would go to, where do you go to? The town manager, I would definitely go to.
Yes. Yeah, so I'd like to do it as a formal Conservation Commission session. We've done some homework. We haven't made any progress.
But I bring it up here just because we already have a formal stewardship plan for this parcel. We don't have a volunteers committee doing anything, and the trees are dying.
Which is an important thing to avoid.
Just one quick side question to that. Things change on the landscape for one reason or another. Places dry up and trees change or vegetation changes. Other places it floods. Things die and the vegetation changes. So how much of this is man-made? And how much of this is just, we're just seeing climate change, let's say?
Well, my only concern was that it's not a tidal, type of, thing. We did have more water this year, but the water should have been draining out and not accumulating.
It's every place else I've been, it's drained.
Yeah, it's drained by now.
Sounds like somewhere downstream, like a culvert has collapsed
Or something, that's how I felt that this was from my limited exploration of this, and I just haven't had the opportunity to go further into this. I just want to report this, that's kind of an ongoing issue.
Just a last question to say, trees are dying. Perhaps downstream, there's some clogging of the exit of the water leaving. So that would say that, going back to January for the heavy rains, that you might have seen flooding on the street, or you might have seen,
What GOSA found was that they actually had there was so much erosion coming off of down this culvert,
okay,
that it took out the trail, okay? Okay, and so that GOSA did some minor repairs and reestablished the trails and put some more of the diverters in to get the water diverted back into the culvert and stuff. So that they've been paying more attention to this. As
Well,
a result.
That property is a, it's a I wouldn't say conversion, it's a transit. It doesn't stay there because that's not,
No,
it goes a hill.
yeah, it's a hill.
So it goes off the hill down and where the problem is, down property. That's where it stops.
right, but,
I don't know.
it
there's no
seems like
construction,
there's,
there isn't any construction.
it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different sides to it, but it's one where more information is.
Yeah, we want public works to investigate. I got it. Let's know. All right, any other new business?
I don't have anything now. I think I covered everything I needed to. Oh, you got nothing. Like I said, community conversations, that's gonna get, it was supposed to be scheduled for next week and timing and scheduling. A lot of stuff going on, public works. Public works, right? Parks and Rec is doing a bunch of.
Yeah, so that's fine, that's all.
Yeah. for the tree stuff.
What's the date on that?
I took a picture of this.
On the 17th or something, 18th.
It's rooted in the future. Community tree management plan presentation, September 17th, 6:15 p.m., 5:55.
That's what the sign says.
That's what the sign
It's
says.
also in Spanish. Which is the first, I think that's the first one I've seen that's in
15, right?
Spanish.
What's 6:15?
Who's running that?
Parks and Rec. This is all part of the
Parks and Rec.
that tree management. That's that ARPA funding for the tree survey and all that stuff. All this is the final report of that.
Which we've all seen. All right, so if you have nothing else,
I'm Richard.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Michelle, you're
All
used to
right.
leading it.
We are adjourned.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
See you next month. Probably in person.
Where are you?
Cape May, New Jersey,
Oh, enjoy.
Thank you.
Jersey.
for work, so it's not a vacation.
Oh, you're.
Bye-bye.
All right.